The Enigma in Action by Professor Tom Perera with the Grossdeutschland World War II German Reenactors, www.grossdeutschland.com. This video was filmed at the annual Mid-Atlantic Air Museum World War II reenactment in Reading, Pennsylvania, and is copyright 2005. The video shows a German officer writing a message, having it coded by an Enigma machine and transmitted by radio to another German military base. There it is decoded by another Enigma machine and delivered to a German officer. In this scene, the German officer hands his original message to the Enigma operator for coding and transmission. The Enigma operator must first set the Enigma to the day's key. The day's key is given in a code book that is valid for 1 month. For each day of the month, the code book gives the date, the ring setting for each rotor, the order of the rotors on the shaft, the plugboard jumper settings, and the starting position for each rotor. Only when all of these parts of the day's key are set correctly can the Enigma be used to encode a message. The Enigma operator is now setting the day's key. He starts by opening the top of the Enigma to remove the rotors from the rotor shaft. First, he unlocks the rotors by pulling the rotor locking lever forward. Then he moves the reflector wheel to the left to allow the rotors to be removed, and he lifts out all 3 rotors on their shaft and consults the code book to determine how to set the ring settings of each rotor. He is now removing the 3 rotors from their shaft to set their ring settings. The German Army Enigma machine can use 3 rotors, but 2 more were often supplied in a separate wooden box. This allowed the choice of 3 of a possible 5 rotors. The ring settings are adjusted by pulling back a spring-loaded locking pin that allows the outer ring of each rotor to rotate. Then the outer ring is turned until the proper number appears across from the index mark. The first rotor was just set to 4. The next rotor will be set to 6. As you can see, it is not easy to adjust the ring settings. The final rotor will be set to 16. The Enigma operator puts each rotor back on the shaft in the order dictated by the code book. First, he puts rotor number Roman numeral 3 on the shaft and checks it. Then he puts rotor 2 on the shaft. And finally, he puts rotor number 1 on the shaft. The Enigma operator inserts all of the rotors back into the Enigma and locks them in place by pushing the rotor locking lever back. Now he is closing and tightening the screws that hold the cover closed. The Enigma operator is now beginning to remove the plugboard jumper wires from the plugboard in the front of the Enigma. He must first consult the code book and look at the column that tells him which plugs to put into the numbered sockets on the front panel. The plugboard has 26 double sockets for the 26 letters in the alphabet. Up to 10 jumper wires may connect one lettered socket to another lettered socket, so that a voltage coming into one letter is jumpered over to another letter. The plugs are not easy to remove, and placing them in the proper sockets requires patience and skill in order to avoid errors. Next, the Enigma operator sets each rotor to the code book determined starting position. He sets the right-hand rotor to 12, the middle rotor to 3, and the left rotor to 5. 5, 3, 12. After he has set these 4 parts of the day's key, the ring setting of each rotor, the rotor position on the shaft, the plugboard jumper wires, and the starting settings of the rotors, he is ready to start typing in the original message on the keyboard. Every letter that the Enigma operator types into the Enigma causes a light bulb to go on and light up a letter on the light bulb panel. A second Enigma operator writes down the letters that are illuminated by the light bulbs. The letters that he writes down are the Enigma-coded, or so-called ciphertext version of the original message, or so-called plain text. The second Enigma operator now prepares to transmit the coded message by radio to the receiving station. The Germans believed that these Enigma-coded or ciphertext message could never be decoded. So they sent them by radio telegraph Morse code to their destination. They knew that the Allied forces could intercept the German radio transmissions, but they thought that the Allies would never be able to decode the messages. They were wrong. Sometimes they even used plain voice radio transmission like this to send each letter of the coded message to the receiving station. The Allies listened in and recorded every Enigma-encoded message, and then worked at Bletchley Park to decode them. The coded message has been sent. The radio operator at the message destination receives the Enigma-coded message and writes it down letter by letter. Before the receiving station Enigma operator can convert the coded message, the ciphertext, into plain text, he must set his Enigma machine to exactly the same day's key as the sending station's Enigma. The 4 parts of the day's key are shown in the code book for each day of the month. The code book gives the day of the month, the ring setting of each rotor, the order that the rotors are placed on the shaft, the plugboard jumper settings, the starting positions of the 3 rotors are also given. To set the day's key, first the Enigma cover must be opened. Then, rotors are removed from the Enigma by pulling the rotor locking lever forward and then moving the reflector to the left to free the rotors for removal. The rotors are then removed from the shaft. The Enigma machine can use 3 rotors, but 2 more rotors were often supplied in a separate wooden box. This allowed a choice of 3 of a possible 5 rotors. The numbered outer ring of each rotor is now rotated to the new ring setting position. The first one is set to position 4. To do this, the locking pin is pushed back, and this releases the outer ring so that it can be rotated, in this case, to position 6. And finally, the third rotor is set to position 16, exactly the same as that on the sending Enigma machine. After all of the ring settings have been set to the same numbers as the sending Enigma, the rotors are placed on the shaft in the order dictated by the codebook. Rotor 3 is placed on the shaft first, rotor 2 is placed on the shaft second, and rotor 1 is placed on the shaft last. These are exactly the same order as on the sending Enigma machine. The rotors are then put back into the Enigma, and the rotor locking lever is moved back. This moves the reflector in from the left to compress all of the rotors and lock them in place to make them ready for action. The code book is then consulted again, and the plugboard jumper settings are set to those outlined in the code book. These are the same settings used in the sending Enigma. The plugboard has 26 double sockets for the 26 letters in the alphabet. Up to 10 jumper wires may connect one lettered socket to another lettered socket so that a voltage coming in to one letter is jumpered over to another letter. It is a fairly difficult task to pull all the jumpers out of the plugboard, and it's quite difficult to be absolutely certain that letters are connected to the correct other letters. The code book is again consulted to determine the proper starting positions of the rotors. The left one is set to 5, the middle rotor is set to 3, and the right-hand rotor to 12. 5, 3, 12. These are the same settings as those used in the sending station Enigma. After the day's key is set to be the same as the sending station's day's key, the receiving Enigma operator types in the letters of the Enigma-coded text, or so-called cipher text. As the Enigma operator types in each letter on the keyboard, a light bulb illuminates the letter on the light panel. These illuminated letters are written down by another receiving Enigma operator. The letters spell out the original plain text message. When the Enigma operator has typed in all of the Enigma-coded or ciphertext letters, and the other Enigma operator has written down all the plain text letters of the original message is ready to be delivered to the German officer to whom it was addressed. We will now show how the light bulbs in an Enigma are tested. The failure of a light bulb would disable both the enciphering and deciphering processes, so they must be tested frequently. First, the cover is open, then each light bulb is unscrewed, then the bulb is pushed down into a special socket on the far right of the light bulb panel. If the light bulb is okay, it lights up. If the light bulb is burned out, it will not light, and it is replaced with one of the spare light bulbs stored in the wooden cover. This has been an authentic depiction of the Enigma in action by Professor Tom Perera with the Grossdeutschland, German, World War II reenactors.